Thanks for joining us on the Finance Report. I'm David Wogenson. In just a moment, I'll be joined by my co-host Mallory Hoff and retirement planner Mike Riedmiller. On today's episode, we'll discuss living the dream in retirement and why some retirees are fearful their golden years might not be as prosperous. A lot of that stems from what's going on. Market volatility, economic uncertainty. We'll discuss those big risks and more. And then in 15 and 15, taxes and why the set it and forget it mentality might not be right for you.
You're watching the Finance Report, and as David just outlined, we have a lot to cover today. The retirement landscape has shifted, and a lot of pre-retirees are trying to figure out if they've saved enough. But first, joining us now is Mike Riedmiller. Mike is a retirement planner and the president of Riedmiller Wealth Management, an Omaha area firm that helps people prepare for retirement. Mike is also a popular radio show host. Look, we all have kids here, and I think something that we're hearing a lot of lately is, I thought I was going to be able to leave a certain amount to my kids when I pass, but the reality is now I have to cover my monthly expenses, which are going up, and I just don't know what's going to be left behind.
So Mike, let's start here. What do retirees need to know as they try to attack this situation?
Really, it comes down to that planning process from investment planning, income planning, and tax planning. But specifically covering expenses, you want to have multiple sources of income in retirement. The more the better. So a lot of people will have Social Security. Some have pensions, although they're not as common as they used to be. Required minimum distributions, maybe dividend-paying stocks. Here in Omaha and really throughout Nebraska and Iowa, people might have farmland or rental property. Some people, annuities in certain circumstances. But the point is, these multiple sources coming together, you want to have income higher than expenses, obviously. So it really starts with that and that planning process.
Absolutely. All right, so it could be considered a complicated time to be in retirement, nearing retirement. What questions are you getting a lot of in your office right now?
Wow, where do I start?
Okay,
anyway,
I
lots
gotcha.
of them. One thing, where could the market be going next? 'Cause if we think about the history of the market back in 2001, around 9/11, it was down for a few years. 2008, with the housing crisis, was way down, as people remember. And even back in 2022, the stock market and bond market both were down, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
So moving forward, the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, how many downturns might we see? So people are concerned because markets around all-time highs, a lot of volatility. One world event or unknown economic event could send things the other way. So that's probably the number one question that I get in my office on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Mike, if you're starting to think about retirement, when do you need to start planning for retirement?
That's a great question. The ideal time could be anywhere 2 to 5 years prior to retirement, maybe even up to 10 years. So if somebody's listening right now, if they're in their 50s or early 60s, if they're still working, now can be the best time. It's kind of like the best time to plant a tree. That was 20 years ago. The second best time right now. So if you're already retired, maybe it makes sense to come in for a second opinion or a review. So people can really benefit from the planning process, whether they're coming up on retirement or already retired, but time is of the essence.
Mike, you spend a lot of time talking about tax strategies. How should tax strategies play into the big picture that is our retirement plan?
Yeah, well, Mallory, as I've been saying through the years, taxes could be one of the biggest expenses people have in retirement, period. A lot of people, they don't realize with their 401k or IRA, it's really a tax trap. So let's think about that. If somebody has $1 million in their IRA, well, they don't own that because after taxes are taken out, federal and maybe state taxes, they might be down to $700,000 or $800,000 and not have that million. So again, taxes, huge issue that a lot of people have not thought about, unfortunately.
Are there other traps that retirees need to be aware of?
Yeah, a multitude of traps. A lot of times lack of planning. Again, investment planning, income planning, tax planning, a lot of different things people have not thought of. Also, future healthcare costs, long-term care costs. That could be a whole 30-minute topic in and of itself. So there's a lot of things that people are not thinking of because let's think about it. They're going to work, they're paying the bills, they're raising the kids, trying to take some vacations, just get through the week and the month. And with retirement planning, it's important, but a lot of people don't feel like it's urgent. Because think about April 15th every year, we've got tax time. That's an urgent deadline. With retirement planning, a lot of people feel like, well, I'll get to it maybe tomorrow. But here's the thing, procrastination is the enemy of wealth.
Mike, always an excellent conversation. Thank you. And the time to act is now.
It sure is. Today, exclusively for our Finance Report viewers, Riedmiller Wealth Management has an offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or greater, they're offering a complimentary, full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow the team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now, and then discuss your next steps to really get ready for a confident retirement. The number to call right now, 402-791-6177. That's 402-791-6177. And if the lines are busy, leave a message with your name and your number, and the team will call you back.
Your 401k, your IRA, for a lot of people in this country, the hope is that these accounts will sustain them in retirement. But will they? Mike, what should we know about our retirement accounts? What do we need to be aware of?
That's a great question, Mallory.
Yeah.
When it comes to pre-tax retirement accounts, people do not want their IRA to turn into an IOU to the IRS. Let's think about it.
Yeah.
If somebody has a $1 million balance in their 401k or IRA, they don't really have $1 million. They might only have $700,000 or $800,000 because some of that is going to go to Uncle Sam, the IRS, through federal and possibly state taxes.
So, Mike, this is so important, and yet so many people are overlooking this. Tell me why.
Well, it's easy to overlook. It's probably a
Yeah.
conversation they don't want to have for whatever reason. Maybe their accountant or tax professional has never brought it to their attention. Because a lot of times when people are doing taxes, they're trying to minimize taxes as much as they can right now. Might not be looking into the future when they will be retired and where some of that tax-free money could be very valuable.
What's the most important thing for people to understand about these tax strategies?
Well, taxes could be one of the biggest expenses people have in retirement. Tax strategies can be very important when it comes to retirement planning. There are options out there. Some people might not be aware of all the options out there. Certainly Roth conversions, that's one strategy.
Okay.
There's other strategies too, and there seems to be different things all the time. So a lot of conversations, everybody's situation's unique. It's certainly not a one-size-fits-all.
Mike, I think we spend a lot of time naturally talking about when the appropriate time is to start planning for the big picture that is retirement. When should we start looking at these strategies? What's the right timeline on that?
Before you're retired, certainly.
Yeah.
So for a lot
Yeah.
of people, it can maybe be 5 to 10 years before they're retired. But look, if somebody's watching right now on TV, if they're coming up on retirement in the next year or two, there's still time to have some conversations. Even if somebody's already retired, maybe
Yeah.
they're in their later 60s or into their 70s, let's chat. Let's talk about some of the potential options that are available.
All right, let's circle back to the potential cost of procrastinating on this. What can things look like for someone?
Mallory, taxes, again, being one of the biggest expenses that people can have, it can cost somebody tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, depending on the size of their investment portfolio. So the cost could be huge.
Do you think there's a misconception at times that this type of planning is only for the incredibly wealthy in this country, for those who are in that high tax bracket?
Yes, yes, a lot of misconceptions
Okay.
about that. Again, people just not focusing on it. It's important, but people don't feel like it's urgent. So it's easy to kick the can down the road or neglect that. But yes, look, if somebody's got a 6-figure or 7-figure portfolio,
Yeah.
we should have a conversation. You do not have to be the ultra wealthy to take advantage or to utilize some of these.
I think some of this information can be a little overwhelming for people at times. How do you start that conversation? If
Yeah.
someone's going into a financial professional's office for the first time, how should that go?
Yeah, great question. My office right here in the heart of Omaha, around 120th and Pacific Street, just have a very casual conversation, chatting about their situation, their goals, what are some things they want to accomplish. I always like to start off, are they married or single? Do
Yeah.
they have kids or grandkids, working or retired? So many different variables. And sometimes the first conversation can even be a phone call. Sometimes
Okay.
people just because of logistics or it just works out better. So it can be a casual conversation on the phone or at my office. But we just have a relaxed conversation for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we figure out if it makes sense for us to get back together again.
Last question right here for today. For the person who is procrastinating on this, what do you say?
Well, procrastination, that is the enemy of wealth. This is vital. You've
Yeah.
got your nest egg, you've got your life savings. You worked years and years, decades. This is something that is very, very important. So again, it starts with that casual conversation. I encourage people, do not put it off. time is of the essence.
I'm hearing you. It doesn't have to be scary, right?
It doesn't have to be. No, it doesn't have to be scary at all. We try to make it very enjoyable, keep it casual, and then go from there.
Mike, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. And coming up on the Finance Report, planning for the future while living in the present, setting money aside for the different stages of your retirement. And up next, David will put Mike on the clock. But first, exclusively for our Finance Report viewers, Riedmiller Wealth Management has an offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or more, they're offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow the team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap analyzing where you are right now and discuss your best steps to really get ready for a confident retirement. The number to call right now, 402-791-6177. Again, that number, 402-791-6177. And if the lines are busy, leave a message with your name and your number, and the team will commit to calling you back.
From the couch seat to his feet, it is now time for 15 in 15. 15 topics in 15 seconds for you, Mr. Riedmiller. Let's get that clock going. Question number 1. We want to enjoy our retirement years, but Mike, not like this. It was discovered that the average retiree household spent 111% of its after-tax income. What's the best way to get back on track?
Well, David, it comes down to that planning process from investment planning and income planning. In retirement, the more income sources, the better.
Absolutely, Mike. We've also talked about this during the show, that taxes can be one of, if not your largest expense during retirement. So, can people make their retirement more tax-friendly?
There are different tax strategies out there. Many people are not aware of those strategies, but taxes can be that big expense, costing people tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars in retirement. So tax strategies and looking at that can be critical.
Yeah, let's have a plan for that to potentially keep more money in our pockets. Question number 3, if health care could potentially be an even larger expense than taxes, why are so many people in your mind unwilling to engage in that very important conversation?
It's not a fun conversation to have. Who wants to talk about that?
Yeah.
I've never had anybody come into my office in their late 50s, early 60s and say, okay, I've got all my health care and long-term care planning taken care of. If they did, I'd wonder, what's the matter with you?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Seriously, it's just not a pleasant conversation, but it is important. So if you're coming up on retirement or especially already retired, it's something that we've got to account for.
Yeah, taxes and healthcare, they can add up. Question number 4, set it and forget it. If someone is basically clueless or uninformed about their investments and savings, is that always a bad thing?
Yes, usually is, because that set it and forget it. That's just hoping things work out. Hope is not a strategy. We've got to have a customized plan in place, but the set it and forget it, sometimes you see these target date funds or index funds. Well, look, when the market's up, great. But when the market's down, that's where we see the risks, the volatility, and the weaknesses.
Yeah, after working this hard to get to retirement, I'm not relying on hope to get me through. Question number 5. I recently read an article where the advisor being interviewed was saying to stay the course so you can take advantage. Why is this an insincere message for those that are in or nearing retirement?
David, things change. The market is very volatile. It can be important to have your investments and your portfolio reviewed on a regular basis. Staying the course might not always be the right thing. You might need tweaks and adjustments, maybe a major overhaul. Again, everybody's situation is different.
And of course, this advisor was anonymous in that article. Perhaps he has a conflict of interest. My words, not yours, sir. Question number 6, services, they do cost money, but when it comes to working with a financial advisor, what should people expect to pay?
Yes, that's a great question with that, because fees can add up. So advisors, depending who they work with, could be 0.5%, could be 1%, could be 2%. But there's something that a lot of advisory firms will not talk about, and that's internal costs, net expense ratio. So that sometimes can be 1% or more. So a lot of times people, they come into the office, they say, well, they're paying around 1%, give or take. But when we do the analysis, many times it ends up where they're paying 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%, sometimes more.
Yeah, those fees just add up, eating away at your savings. Question number 7, there are financial professionals, and then there are those that help with retirement. Why are some financial professionals not always equipped to help those with retirement?
They might be limited on what they can offer. If somebody's securities license, they're going to probably be only able to offer stocks, bonds, mutual funds. On the flip side, if somebody's only insurance license, then it's going to be insurance-based products. So sometimes the way advisors are licensed, unfortunately, limits what they can offer. with myself, I am both securities licensed and insurance licensed. There's a multitude of companies that I work with and can offer to clients, depending what their situation is.
Yeah, you need a little bit more diversity when it comes to what one can offer at this stage of life. Mike Riedmiller, 7 questions down at 15 and 15. Not bad, my friend. We're going to pause the clock. But right now, today, exclusively for our Finance Report viewers, Riedmiller Wealth Management has an offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or greater, they're offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow the team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now, and then discuss your best steps to really get ready for a confident retirement. The number to call, 402-791-6177. And if the lines are busy, leave a message with your name and number, and the team will call you back. Let's get the clock fired back up. Question number 8. Saving up for retirement is one thing, but withdrawing is another. What do people need to do to determine the optimal sequence to withdraw their money?
Well, we got to look at expenses and income, and then look at the different retirement accounts. So if you withdraw from a pre-tax account, like a 401k, 403b, or IRA, you're going to owe taxes on that money. A non-IRA account, known as non-qualified, you're only going to owe taxes on the gains. Roth account, tax-free money. So a lot of my clients, I suggest or advise, let's leave that Roth account as long as we can. Let's try to grow that as big as we can. So for withdrawals, IRAs, or non-qualified accounts generally.
Sound advice. Question number 9. 401ks became a thing in the 80s. For some retirees, there can be a quick spin down in those accounts. Why is there such a widespread issue with 401ks?
A lot of people, they put those pre-tax dollars in. They spend years and decades building that up. But when they come to retirement, they've got this account. Maybe there's $250,000 in there, or $1 million, or more or less. But what they don't realize, all of that money's not theirs. Every dollar they withdraw, they owe some to Uncle Sam. So it can be big issues, especially if we don't account for
that uncle of ours. Question number 10. A recent study focused on Social Security, and it found that 45% of people are fearful the benefits of it won't be around when they need it. Should these people be feeling that way?
Possibly. I mean, if you go to the Social Security website itself, to the source, there's been warnings out there that they might have to reduce benefits in the future. It's becoming a bigger part of the conversation. So that's where it's important to look at Social Security. When is the right time to start it? Some people want to start it earlier if they don't feel like they have longevity or if they need the money. Other people might want to delay it if they've got longevity in their family or if they don't need the money. But it is something to think about.
Yeah, agreed. You need a game plan for that. Question number 11. We want to have a more confident retirement and enjoy our lives. So, Mike, in your mind, what are the keys to accomplish that?
Comes down to planning, from investment planning, income planning, and implementing tax strategies. Look, we've all got that bucket list, things that we want to accomplish. You can have some added confidence, though, when you've got that planning process.
Yeah, confidence for retirement. Sign me up. Question number 12. No surprise, the wealthy are typically more confident about their retirement outlook. But why do you say not so fast? There's plenty you should be worried about.
Yeah, look, the wealthy have concerns of the middle class when it comes down to, will my money last? What's the best place to invest it at? Also tax strategies. So with the wealthy, obviously, they have more money. But I've found here in Omaha and the surrounding area, a lot of people, whether wealthy or not, have a lot of the same questions and concerns.
Sure, the middle class millionaire, they need that strategy in place that you talk about that encompasses all of that. Question number 13. Some might believe the way to wealth and success is trusting their gut feeling. But Mike, how much of a retirement is based on a good guess that actually ends up paying off?
Yeah, hope is not a strategy. Gut feelings is not a strategy. If we think about what drives the stock market, fear and greed, those are emotions. But look, math wins. Math wins over gut feelings and emotions. So when it comes to retirement planning, your financial future, we've got to sharpen the pencil, get that plan in place, and then execute it. And then make course corrections when we need. But the gut feeling, now let's leave that for other things.
Yeah, we've talked about before, you got to take emotions out of your money. Very
exactly.
important. Hard to do, but important. Question number 14. A survey found that some people plan to relocate once they retire, not to be closer to family, but because of lower living costs. They're actually like fleeing from where they live. It doesn't have to be like this, does it?
Not when you've got that plan in place, but it is something to be important, because that would be sad if your family's here in Omaha and you feel like, well, I've got to move out of state just to be able to afford to live. So putting that plan in place. David, it's like the old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So if somebody's listening right now or watching us on TV, they're still working, coming up in retirement or already retired, let's have that conversation so we can see if they're on track, or maybe some simple tweaks and changes can put them in a better potential position so that they don't have to flee the state.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to put a plan in place so we're not leaving the grandkids behind. That's what we're doing. Final question at 15 and 15. People enjoy putting their money in different pots, lots of different strategies. You could say gold, for instance. How do you help people figure out what strategies are best for them?
Comes down to their unique situation. I love having that casual conversation at my office here in Omaha at 120th and Pacific, or maybe it's a phone call, but see what's important to them. My company offers that portfolio x-ray, which is a complimentary review, because again, everybody's situation is different. Could have somebody walk into my office with a certain net worth and they're more aggressive or growth oriented, have somebody else similar age and net worth that's more conservative. So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, we want to have a customized plan. Mike Riedmiller, 15 questions up, 15 questions down. Excellent work, my friend. All right, for those looking to make sure they're on the right track for their retirement, Riedmiller Wealth Management has an offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or greater, they're offering a complimentary, full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow the team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now, and then discuss your next steps to really get ready for a confident retirement. The number to call, 402-791-6177. Again, that number, 402-791-6177. And if the lines are busy, leave a message with your name and your number, and the team will call you back.
With longer lifespans come longer retirements. So how can you do a better job of planning for the future while truly living in the present? Let's talk retirement buckets. So the red buckets behind me symbolize today, the near future, and years down the road. Mike, why is it important for retirees to think in terms of buckets?
Well, Mallory, there's different periods of time that they'll need their money, so buckets can be a very useful strategy.
All right, Mike, help me out here. Let's start with emergency funds. Where do emergency funds land on our board or in our buckets?
Yeah, Mallory, emergency funds, that's going to be more in the now time frame.
Okay. All right, really important. And low risk and high risk investments, what's critical to consider here?
Yeah, with that, well, for money that we're going to be needing sooner rather than later, it can be important to have low risk. And I'm going to put it right in the middle here.
I like that, okay.
Because that could be in either or bucket. Now, higher risk or maybe higher potential investments, that's going to be more here. It's certainly in this middle bucket here, but also later, because we want things to be able to grow and accumulate.
Let's go there, Mike. What happens if you take on too much risk when you're getting close to retirement? What could go wrong?
Well, a lot could go wrong, Mallory. You think about the stock market. 2001, it was down. Around 9/11. 2008, it was down with the housing crisis. 2022, both the stock market and bond market were down. So in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, how many downturns are we going to see? Nobody knows, but a lot of people feel like there could be a number of them.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, let's talk income. This is something you discuss a lot. Tell me why.
Yeah, income planning. You know, Mallory, in retirement, the more income sources, the better. Got to make sure that income is higher than expenses. So I'm going to put income right here, because it can be...
Split the baby.
Yeah, I'm going to split the baby, because, you know, Social Security and other income sources, some are going to need it now, some maybe a little later down the road.
All right, so Mike, a pension, should you be so fortunate?
Oh yeah, less common than they used to be.
Precisely,
Absolutely.
precisely.
But pension, hey, if you got a pension, a lot of people want to start that right away. So we'll put that right under emergency funds there.
All right, taxes, so important, and yet, Mike, we know this, they are so frequently overlooked. Where do they land, and what do people need to know?
Taxes could be one of the biggest expenses that people have in retirement, costing them tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars, depending on the size of their investments. I mean, can I put it in all the buckets, Mallory?
Go for it.
Anyway,
no, I wish we could split it up like that.
Yeah, no, I'll put taxes here, but that should be top of conversation with everything, but I'll put it right here, but it's important.
How often do you find, before we move on, that tax strategies are overlooked in the big picture that is the planning process?
Very often. A lot of people, it's just not a conversation they want to have. Maybe they're not aware of some of the different strategies. If they've got a CPA or tax professional, they might not be telling them how to reduce future taxes. They're more focused on just reducing taxes right now.
Got to plan for it, absolutely. So as we go down our list here, let's talk healthcare for a moment, if you will.
Okay, yeah, healthcare. With healthcare, I'm going to put that in the later
Yeah.
bucket, because when they're first retired, those are the go-go years.
Yeah.
They're out traveling, doing all the things on their bucket list, and then as they've been retired, sometimes it's the slow-go years. Maybe they stay home more, but then later retirement are the no-go years. They're not traveling as much. A lot of times it's because of age and maybe failing health, or their health just is not as good. So I'm going to put that in the later stage bucket right here.
Absolutely. I want to talk about legacy for a moment. Let's go there. I also want to hear from you on when you bring family into this part of the conversation.
Once you're retired, I think it can be very important to bring them in.
Okay.
And if you're already retired and have not had that conversation, you certainly should. So I'm going to put legacy for later. But again, Mallory, with all these topics we're talking about, it comes down to the planning process that should happen prior to retirement or shortly after retirement.
No procrastinating.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
No procrastination.
Planned expenses. Speaking of which, what do we need to know?
Oh yeah, expenses. Well, again, that's going to come down to income planning.
Okay.
I'm going to put, planned expenses right there, because
Yeah.
we got to make sure income is higher than expenses. More income in retirement, the better. So we want to look at Social Security, pension,
Yeah.
required minimum distributions, if they have any rental income, other income sources. Some people might look at annuities for some of their income.
Sure.
The more income, the better.
All right, so Mike, long-term care. This can be a very uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's one that has to be had, right?
Yeah, yes, definitely. Maybe around 70% of people might need some type of long-term care coverage in the future. So it is. So we're going to put it in this later bucket, but with long-term care, the sooner you plan for it, the better.
All right, a lot of questions surrounding Social Security. Maybe you could answer a few of them.
Yeah, Social Security, people wondering what's that program going to look like in the future? Are there going to be future cuts? Generally speaking, if people need the money or in bad health, they might take Social Security sooner. If they don't need the money or feel like they have longevity on their side, they might delay Social Security. But with Social Security, for some folks, they'll start it right away. Others might delay it. So I'm going to put it right in between here as far as that. So that can be between the now and the soon bucket.
I like that a lot. And before we conclude this segment, tell me once again, why so important to think in terms of these buckets?
Mallory, it's important that your investments in your money meets your age and stage in retirement. This is just a nice visual example of when people might need their money. So it's just very important to think about and to plan for.
Mike, as always, thank you for breaking it down for us. We appreciate it. And more to come on the Finance Report. If you want to make sure your retirement buckets are in order, Riedmiller Wealth Management has an offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or greater, they're offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow the team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap analyzing where you are right now and discuss your next steps to really get ready for a confident retirement. The number to call right now, 402-791-6177. Once again, that number, 402-791-6177. And if the lines are busy, leave a message with your name and your number, and the team will call you back.
Mike, a show jam-packed with information. And before we go, I know you have something for our viewers at home.
I do, and I'm really excited about this. For the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or greater, I'd like to invite you into the office where the team will sit down with you personally and help you create your very own retirement plan. If the lines are busy, please leave a voicemail and I will commit to calling you back.
Mike, thank you very much. And once again, exclusively for our Finance Report viewers, Riedmiller Wealth Management has an offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $250,000 or more, they're offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan.
This will allow the team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now, and then discuss your next best steps to really get ready for retirement. The number to call, 402-791-6177. If the lines are busy, leave a message with your name and number, and the team will call you back.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next time.